when I was discussing the crit tables I use as kind of a homebrew roll system, I mentioned that I've never rolled 100%, which is the instant death roll. But astute hearers will notice that I said in that video that I've never rolled an instant death on the crit fail table. It's not strictly true about the crit success table. So shortly after 5e came out, I was running a campaign and trying out 5e and kind of getting the hang of the rules and everything with some friends from church, and my wife was part of the party and all this other stuff. And a friend of mine that's actually here on TikTok was also part of the table, and he was playing a druid, and he had a pet wolf, or I don't remember if it was a pet or rules-wise if it was nano companion. I don't remember how that worked out, but he had this wolf that was traveling with him. The first encounter that they had in this campaign, the very first encounter, they weren't starting at level 1, it's worth noting. They did start a few levels above that. But the very first encounter they had was internal party strife, because somebody who was supposed to be a slow burn villain didn't know how to do the slow burn part and sparked a fight in the first session. But then the next encounter they had was, this creature that was wandering around. They were going through a swamp on their way out to, the main quest of the adventure. And they end up just using, whatever spell it is now. I don't remember what spell it is, but it reduced the guy's intelligence down to the point where he was functionally not a threat. And then they slipped around. So for the next encounter, I rolled a random encounter table and ended up putting them against a black dragon. Now, I had adjusted it for level and all this other stuff, but still, it was a black dragon. First real combat they have in this campaign. And second round of combat, this wolf rolls a confirmed critical and gets 100% on the crit table. So what ended up happening was they encountered a black dragon. They weren't sure how to handle this. They were trying their best. They were whittling away at it, but they weren't getting very far. Second round, the wolf dives up and rips the throat out of the dragon. Instant death. There's a part of that story that sounds like, oh, well, that sounds kind of anticlimactic. Or like there's all this stuff that could have happened that didn't. But the characters loved it. The players loved it. We were carrying on about this the whole time. We nicknamed him the Epic Wolf. He became like our party mascot. He was a big deal. Like, we loved this wolf. And people like found that whole scene in the description that my friend made for him, killing this dragon, was like famous in that group. Everybody loved this and talked about this constantly. And that wolf was like the key party member. Like, everyone was all about that wolf. That wolf got so many treats from that point on, all this stuff throughout the whole campaign. Eventually, the wolf did end up dying in a combat much later on in the story, and the whole party like mourned for him and all this other stuff. But one of the other players had picked up an NPC who was a barbarian and did not have that much of a connection to the wolf. And so he couldn't get to like this fire elemental or whatever. And so he picked up the epic wolf's body and threw it as, an improvised weapon at the creature that they were fighting. And it did some damage and everything, but it was a fire elemental. And so the wolf was incinerated. The wolf was burned. And it was only after that people remembered that the wolf was carrying the map and a bunch of other supplies that they needed that were now burned up. But after that, we end up retiring his mini. We didn't have a wolf mini at the time. Actually, I don't know if I have a wolf mini now, but it was this one. This mini was the Epic Wolf, and for the next couple years, through that campaign and through other just kind of life stuff, this mini sat on top of the TV in our living room because it wasn't allowed to be used in any campaign. We had retired the mini in memory of Epic Wolf.